little bit boring. But what's even worse than boring gameplay is messy gameplay. And I'm sorry, EVOS, but their gameplay so far has been a little bit messy, especially when the situation gets tense. So I'm still gonna lean a bit towards the team that I feel is more consistent, but we don't really know what's going to happen here as we jump into the draft for game number 1.
All right, looking at the draft so far, it's going to be Blacklist International on blue side, EVOS Esports on red side. And the fun part, they're getting rid of the Fanny, the Loyin, as well as Harrods for blue side. EVOS Esports getting rid of the Joy, the Jushin, as well as Matilda. Very standard bans all across the board. However, it does mean that the Granger gets to go through. And funny enough, they're pairing both Granger and as well as the Yve. I personally like this a lot. And Blacklist International gets a winning lane matchup here with the help of an Irithel. However, the Suyo on blue side has been doing exceptionally well in the stats here at SPS.
Yeah, I think as long as Suyo is able to perform without having to worry about early jungle invades or overly powerful frontline units, and is able to play off good pick-off strategies without having to worry about something like a Joy, for example, you will usually have a pretty good time, right? The Joy being taken out here means that Suyo and Alpha are probably going to be the main junglers we see contested on both sides here. And then we see the Hilda come out for Blacklist to complete their first hull. And yep, that's gonna be the Alpha for EVOS.
Yep, I like that. Pretty standard stuff all across the board, but EVOS Esports getting rid of the CC this time around, despite Hilda being shown by Blacklist International. Then again, there is a possibility of Blacklist International showing up with the Hilda mid lane all over again. High sustain, pair it up with maybe even an Angela, and then you might have some sick moves to go off of. Now, Blacklist International also getting rid of the Lucas on top of everything else. But yeah, coming back to the stats, right? I'm bringing up Suyo, or some may call it Bluyo, only because it's got a ridiculous win rate. Like, you know, last time where anybody who has Jushin wins games, well, Suyo has a 75% win rate on blue side so far compared to Granger at 60%. And this is purely just on blue side. It's something about that first pick that makes him so good. Oh, even the Fovius ban as well.
I think the reasoning for this is that usually Suyo is not going to be first pick unless heroes that just directly deal very well with him are already banned out, right? Otherwise, you would typically see people prioritize the Joy, sometimes the Granger, sometimes the Matilda even. But if the Joy is taken out of the picture, if you don't have to worry about a Fanny or a Loyi, then Suyo actually has a much better time dealing with things. And because of that, I think the win rate does get skewed somewhat. I do want to highlight the Angela you brought up earlier because this is actually not a bad place for the Angela to come out. It not only works well with the Hilda in the mid lane like we saw on day 1, but it combos super well with the Irithel as well. So that could be something that Blacklist can consider going into this.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because EVOS Esports, they've got some really nice combos, and I love the fact that they're using the Gatot as their 4th pick as a good flex between you either support or even the EXP. He will go completely fine either way, one way or another. Oh, but Blacklist International decided to go for the Khalid as well as the Vexana. Vexana makes a lot of sense, right? Anybody who wants to dive towards their backline, at least she has ways to kind of peel for at least a little bit to buy that extra bit of time, and then maybe find a way to get into their own backlines as long as they can disengage from the RWM is the main point.
Once again, Blacklist going for a very honest lineup, with the exception of having both Khalid and Hilda though. These two heroes together means that they really need to play for early game timings. They gotta invade, they gotta gank as much as possible because both will end up dropping off quite a bit as we enter into the mid to late game phase. Plus, it also means that Blacklist doesn't have the most teamfight AoE to play around. So with EVOS having the Gatot and the Eve, they're gonna have to figure out ways of splitting them apart. And then this Badang gonna come out as a final pick for EVOS Esports.
I mean, you say Blacklist International were the ones coming up with the honest composition. EVOS Esports, this is very honest. Truly, they just want to catch people, wombo combo them as fast as possible. I'm curious to see how elusive Blacklist International can be, because they would prefer smaller, faster skirmishes, especially against the squishier targets. Ideally, if they can punish Claw Kun early in the game, that would be great for them. But other than that, as the game progresses, it's gonna get harder and harder, and it will have to play around ult timings.
Yeah, I think Blacklist definitely has a tighter win condition going into this game because they just have to play for their early game timing, and if they're not able to get a sufficient enough snowball or stop the Granger from scaling up too much, then the game just kind of falls into EVOS Esports' laps. They definitely have a lot more tools to play around, but it will come down to execution in the end, as ladies and gentlemen, we're about to jump into the Land of Dawn for the first time today to see who will be able to get a head start to move on into the LCQ.
All right, it's going to be Blacklist International on blue side up against EVOS Esports on the red side. It's going to be a purple start for MP. Annabelle deciding to stick on to the orange. They're going to be starting on the same side of the map, and they want to end up towards the gold lane, which I think makes a lot of sense for EVOS Esports. On the other hand, I feel like Blacklist International, I want to see how they want to punish this particular rotation, right? Because inevitably what it's going to come down to is, hey, can we stop Granger from scaling too fast? If we can catch Klokun off of his rotation, that would be even more ideal.
Yeah, they already will have lane priority in the EXP lane with a Hilda versus Badang, so if they can get lane prio in mid and gold too, it'll be huge for them. MP coming in, gonna miss the stun on the Blade Surge, but Bergziva on top of Tawny, revitalized, gonna be forced out here. Blacklist not able to find the kill they were hoping for.
Honestly, this is pretty worth it for Blacklist, right? They've got 2 battle spells for 1 battle spell. Outplayed is currently running the sprint, so it's gonna come back a lot faster compared to the flicker, especially since Nikki had to use it pretty early on in the lane. It's not going to matter for the upcoming Lord take, but in the meantime, just some good control coming in from Blacklist International. Oh.
Ooh, MP in some trouble here, gonna be ganked by 2 members, but able to dash out just in time. Perxiva and Hodge gonna make sure that Tawny cannot chase. Is gonna be forced to recall there.
No Punisher so far. Annabelle's presence hasn't been felt just yet. I think he's considering maybe going for an invade at this point because they do have priority from EXP's side as the first technical pause gets called here. We'll see. We'll see. I want when Veldora hits 4, I'm curious to know who his target is going to be. Is he going to go straight for the jungle, or maybe is he going to maybe hit a frontliner to kind of disrupt and slow down the engagement to set up for Klokun?
Well, I think EVOs definitely have a lot of tools to just play the game they want to. Their front to back is obviously very, very strong. They've got the RWM, they got the Gatot. Blacklists are gonna be the ones that have to try and force them to split apart, which is difficult to do if you don't have a lead, right? And right now, while they're doing a good job of still controlling the map somewhat, I don't think they've made quite enough impact to force EVOs to be uncomfortable.
I mean, it's about small incremental wins, right? You get the flicker out of the Granger, and now you're looking for opportunities to gank him because you know that all he has is the Rondo as his last mobility option until he hits level 4. So trying to abuse those windows, yes, it's extremely tight, but that's kind of all you have to work off of. If you play on the opposite side of the map, we would have seen MP actually start on his orange buff and maybe change the way that he clears his jungle pathing to maybe give us an idea of whether or not he wants to try and get ahead of this alpha and then try to gank the Badang side of the map, or whether or not he just wants to stay ahead of the alpha the entire game.
I see. Makes sense. I gotta ask you though, Gideon, like we saw both of the junglers with their jungle pathing kind of leaning towards the gold lane, right? Which makes sense because you want to get lane priority everywhere else. But could there have been an option for Blacklist to actually hard focus the EXP lane instead to just render this Badang useless since Hilda was already winning anyway?
Well, yes, that there is a very high possibility of that, but let's keep in mind that they are going to be playing Irithel. Irithel does need just a little bit of help in the lane because let's say it turns into a 2v1 scenario, you lose a lot of that lane pressure that you were hoping for because again, you know for a fact that EVOS Esports is not just going to leave it alone. Oh, hold on.
Ooh, Perxiva in some trouble, already getting knocked back, and half HP, not level 4 yet. JM Pinkman on top of things, but Annabelle secures the turtle flicker from the Khalid, and now Hilda being knocked back with the Spear of Alpha. No casualties, but EVOS comes out on top with the objective.
Interesting target priority. Annabelle decided to push back JM Pinkman, where you could have gone for Perxiva there. Was that the smart? Could have been a better option, but still, Haji gonna get chunked out by the RWM very early on, and with the amount of pressure that they're having, all this just so that Nikki can have a double lane.
And right now, I do think that EVOS Esports is in a pretty good position. They already stopped Blacklist from being able to get overly early kills with this Hilda Khalid combo. Perxiva actually behind in EXP because he's been very active on the map in comparison to Tawny. who's been given some time with the lane. And this could actually be bad news for Blacklist if they're not careful, but now we see the first crack right into the AOG on top of Persada, and Nikki gonna secure first blood. MP a bit deep there, gonna have to dash out. Blacklist not able to continue.
Hey man, it's the way of the fist. The wombo combos are really, really dangerous for the side of EVOS Esports, and it's actually great that they're abusing the fact that Veldora has a pretty free lane of his own, right? The amount of pressure that he's been providing as soon as he gets that Thunderbelt, JM Pinkman is basically going to be a free farm bot for him for stacks, right? And the best part, every single time you throw out that fist, it also applies your on hit. So he's going to get these Thunderbelt stacks for free.
Yeah, I talked about this with some of my viewers, in fact, just how well Thunderbelt synergizes with Badang, because both his first skill and his ultimate operate off of basic attack modifier. So they're able to get those stacks very, very quickly. And right now, EVOS Esports commanding a pretty comfortable lead. 1K in 4 minutes is nothing to scoff at, especially when we've already mentioned that Blacklist is the team that needs to make things happen a little earlier.
Yep. I mean, Persada, he tried his best, right? The most that he got was 2 battle spells out of EVOS Esports' bot side of the map. And now, with JM Pinkman going to be finding his own Thunderbelt timing, let's see how this is going to play out. Next turtle on the top side of the map.
Annabelle already on it. Persada trying to poke him out, but Veldora is there. AOG comes in, doesn't get the knockup, but MP comes in, steals the turtle with the retry timing. JM gonna be abandoned a little bit. RWM comes out to stop him from escaping, but Blacklist are actually able to escort all 5 members out.
Surprising that EVOS didn't at least punish them, right? I mean, Persada was able to flicker out of the way. Same goes for JM Pinkman as well. But at this point, EVOS, they're going to start paying, trying to get that tax from Blacklist International on the bot side, stealing away jungle camps at the very least, looking to try and set up this dive, but Blacklist International too fast!
Blade Surge connects with Tawny right into the Vexana burst, and Haj gonna punish the overextension, picking off the Gatot. Now JM Pinkman on top of Clockun pops the ultimate. The Cyclone Eye gonna allow the Eve to escape just in time, but Blacklist immediately transitions. They want to contest the purple. Veldora's appearance gonna stop them. Nikki in a safe position, but his tower not quite as lucky. 4 members of Blacklist still not able to get it though.
Really good stuff coming out from Blacklist International. They know that Persada is really fast on that rotate. They know that MP has a lot of mobility, but most importantly, is that Haji is able to just blow up the mid lane, right? Despite everything that's happening, Blacklist International can regroup a lot faster in comparison to EVOS Esports.
Yeah, this is a Blacklist International specialty after all. They're very good at these 5-man rotations and engages. Even if their lineup may be a little less good at it compared to EVOS, it's still their comfort play style. They're gonna start rotating as a 4-man, controlling the mid and bot since they know the next turtle is gonna be coming out down here.
I'm curious to see where priority is going to go to, right? Because the fact that JM Pinkman was allowed to leave that lane goes to show that Veldora was slightly behind on tempo because of that initial combo that he was having. Wait, hold on.
JM Pinkman on top of Nikki. He's able to dash away. Persada looking for him as well as Annabelle. A bit too distracted. Outplayed with the dash right in with the heavy crossbow. One last hit. Gonna be able to finish him off in the tier 2. AOG cuts him off though. Right into the path of Veldora. And they're gonna punish. It's a gold lane 1-for-1 trade. MP now on top of the turtle. JM still in the backline. Persada providing information, but
God.
Annabelle actually holding aggro because of Veldora's presence. Clockun gonna be targeted once again. MP gets the turtle, but they lose in exchange.
Man, Blacklist International playing like a black mamba here, trying to make sure that they are slithering and finding interesting ways to pinch EVOS Esports. Clockwood, you can't tell him that he wasn't out of position, right? They saw where exactly Mr. Pinkman was, creeping around along the right side through Tribrush, but you could see that Haji was taking full advantage of the scenario, right? He has to make Clockwood choose. Are you going to deal with the wave, or are you going to help out with this turtle? Either or, it's between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, it was a very nice layered approach from Blacklist International. In fact, having Persada to help out MP while Outplayed and JM Pinkman were in the back line, slowly taking off their DPS members one by one. Veldora gonna cap Persada right into the Spear of Alpha. Raging Sandstorm not gonna save him. RWM gonna set up the Death Sonata. Haji picks off in the back line. JM Pinkman now just distracting EVOS to make sure that MP is still able to get his buff, is able to secure it. But the mid-tier 1 will fall to EVOS EVOS Esports as they continue on the pressure.
All right, now this is where the game is going to get really tough for Blacklist International. EVOS Esports, they evened out the gold a little bit, even more, but at this point, once they start moving around as 5, Blacklist International has to use their macro to kind of split them apart. They need to be able to kind of divert the attention of where the main fighting force of EVOS Esports is going to be leaning towards to. As you can see here, right, now they're going with the 4-1 split, understanding that they can't be giving these turrets for free. Blacklist International have already lost their mid-tier 1, but at the same time, at least they're threatening side waves as well until they hit their next item power spike, which is probably when Outplayed gets his 4th item, which will be a little tough, so I'll say until 3rd item coming in from MP.
But they're still holding position well. Already forced out a flicker on Clawkun as well. EVOS Esports, I actually am a little bit concerned for them. They need to adapt their approach to these team fights, because so far they've been setting up with the fist crack into the AOG combo, but that doesn't leave any frontliners in the backline to help protect Nikki and Clawkun from a potential JM Pinkman dive. So their positioning needs to be a little bit safer and maybe a bit more controlled now that Blacklist wants to force them apart from one another.
I think that's why Annabelle has been using the Spear of Alpha and really just pointing it towards Mr. Pinkman here. Let's see how they play this out.
Prexiva is in the turtle pit, Raging Sandstorm flicker, lands on Annabelle, but he still gets the turtle in time. Prexiva gonna be able to heal back out. RWM comes out, JM in the backline with Clawkun and Nikki, gonna be eventually picked off by the Sky Piercer. And Evo still keeps everyone alive. Crack going to TP and flickers, picks off Prexiva. MP gonna trade for Tawny in backline, but is not able to chase. He's too low on HP. 2-for-1 trade. Death Sonata just barely whiffs as well. Veldora still looking for him. Actually gonna force him off the purple buff as Annabelle continues escorting the Lord down mid.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe that Annabelle gets to live that. He gets dove by MP. He dives forward with the Spear of Alpha, and everybody just conveniently is on their skill cooldowns. Annabelle gets to walk over and heal back off from the mid lane, thanks to Veldora slowing 3 members of Blacklist International with this Badang. Really showing that Badang is just quite the disruptor, right? Even if he is not one-shotting your targets, which everybody has been so used to seeing Badang as this, you know, nasty fighter who eventually scales up and kills multiple people in a single combo. Oh, next punish might come in here.
Fist crack gonna connect on JM Pinkman. This is a 4-man dive. Nikki secures the killing spree. There's no way Hilda's getting out of that one. Not even gonna try and flicker.
Yeah, I wish we could see the stacks that Veldora has right now in comparison to JM Pinkman. Just out of curiosity of how many Thunderbelt stacks he's got working with him. Oh, Brute Force breastplate from Veldora too. This guy's feeling himself.
Yeah, I like what he's doing. He knows what his responsibilities are. Doesn't really need to output the most damage. The goal is to control your opponent. Secondary front line, I like it. I think Veldora is playing the most efficient Badang we've seen so far this challenge season. That's actually making it very difficult for Blacklist International to engage. The off-tempo initiation from this hero is catching them off guard.
Wishing Lantern being purchased by Clawkun, so now JM Pinkman can't just willy-nilly walk up and run at him. Outplayed himself did get the GDS, so he's gonna have a little bit more movement speed when he does pop that ult. But for now, you can just see that EVOS Esports, as long as the main fighting force is controlling that mid-wave, they get to do whatever they want in the jungle.
Oh, a beautiful fist crack in the AOG combo, and Hachi and Perxiva just melt in an instant. Mega kill streak for Nikki. JM, you do not want to be there right now as Blacklist. They're not going to be able to stop this push anymore. It's a 3v5. And EVOs are going to get as much as they can with it.
They've got to stop disrespecting the Badang. They really do. I mean, if they lose one person, somebody is able to kind of, you know, eat the full combos. That's 2 ults down and maybe they can look for some form of retaliation, right? But at that point, it really just isn't worth it. They've got to make sure that they space out a little better against Veldora here. Now that his flicker is gone, at least they can't guarantee the combo to land.
And at the very least, they have that timing to play around here. Oh, JM and outplayed in the mid lane, but Veldora has already scouted them out. No flanking here for Blacklist. Annabelle gonna continue controlling the Lord Pit as Tawny is providing vision. You can see that Blacklist, they're just not able to expand outside of their half of the map. JM Pinkman wants to be in the back line, but EVOS is watching every angle so well. Death Sonata drops down hard. much, and he's just gone. Nikki gonna be jumped on by AM, but able to flicker out to safety as now Outplayed chases him down, finishes him off. Annabelle not able to pick up MP. Outplayed still going. Wind of Nature comes out, double kill on Clockhood, but will finally be stopped as Veldora and Tani jump on top of him, and even Annabelle finally able to finish off MP.
Honestly, not too bad, unless they lose another member here, then it would be really, really awful. But considering that Blacklist International has been struggling to get in on these fights, especially to threaten their positions, I think this is one of the better outcomes. They just didn't win the 50-50 on the Lord take, but they're not going to lose too much for this.
And both sides actually end up with their Roman EXP alive. Fist Crack connects, but no damage to follow up on. Eventually, the Lord will crash in mid. Veldora a bit too deep there, has to flicker out to safety to make sure he's not punished for that. And despite their best efforts, Blacklist not able to stop the Lord from taking their mid inhib.
Yeah, they really gotta stop. They really got to stop using the sand. I think that Perxiva, he is getting a little confident that he's like, I can basically outlive anything. I'm building full tank, but he's got to remember that Badang naturally is able to kind of punch him out of these states of minds. So he's got to space himself a lot better here. If not, at least trade cooldowns with JM Pinkman a little bit better. But still, regardless, Lord does find the mid inhibitor. That's as much advantage that EVOS Esports is going to take. Not too big of a deal for Blacklist International, because at the end of the day, if you are going for a Lord take, you still need to push out that mid wave naturally, and it's a lot more manageable compared to the side waves.
Yeah, that is true, but with one inhibitor down, Blacklist is gonna have a much tougher time actually having control of the map. We are 14.5 minutes in, EVOS Esports holding a clear goal lead, and the heroes on Blacklist side are really gonna start dropping off in terms of scaling. You can just see how easily JM is being melted down by Nikki, and he hasn't even reached his power spike just yet. I think the timing is really closing down for Blacklist.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. So far, I think that the approach from Blacklist International is correct. The execution of it could be a little bit better here and there. But so far, I think that EVOS Esports, they're playing a very tight composition right now, and Veldora is really making it work, right? All of the bad scenarios have been turned around by Veldora alone. Clockhood very much is the eject button. When things are going bad, drop down to RWM to buy you that extra bit of time for some of your frontliners to actually disengage from bad scenarios. But even his positions not being compromised as much in comparison to the earlier stages of the game.
In the early stages, JM was still able to walk back without being controlled too much, but he can't do that anymore now that EVOS genuinely does enough damage to be a scary threat. And because of that, Nikki and Clockhood are being given free reign of the Land of Dawn. I mentioned before the game started that EVOS can have messy gameplay, but when they're able to play these more comfort drafts, these default front to backs, and their opponent doesn't have the same tools they do, they become a different team entirely. They are very solid.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good right now. Hopefully they're able to take this Lord, or hold on.
Conceal comes in, flicker, lands the Raging Sandstorm. Nikki blows up in an instant, and even Veldora, stopped by the Blade Surge, cannot follow up on Outplayed, misses the Fist Crack, but lands the ultimate. So Outplayed gonna trade himself for the enemy Badang. Now Perxiva trying to buy some space for MP to get out, but real world manipulation comes in, and MP is stuck between a rock and a hard place. JM will trade one more, but he's the last one alive, and Clockhood just gonna chase him down with Point Crystal. Even the Oracle bought on the spot so that he's able to survive it in time, because he knows Annabelle is pushing down the mid lane. Will he be able to recall in time? There's a minion wave. The Alpha is all alone in the base of Blacklist. The minion waves will spawn just in time. JM gonna be able to heal back up, and luckily, because of the minion waves, Annabelle not able to get a cheeky backdoor.
Unable to get the cheeky backdoor here. Once again, Blacklist International, great stuff coming in from Haji here. He sees the angle to get the full fear combo onto Nikki with the Eternal Guard as well. Loses his flicker for it. Great execution overall, but still so close from turning it around. Had Outplayed survived just a couple more seconds there, they might have been able to turn that situation all around. But this just goes to show, Nikki, he's got to be really careful. If he is giving a free lane, not really a free lane, but line of sight for Haji to make these plays, to land that fear, he's gonna take it. Haji, of all mid laners, is not afraid to lose battle spells to guaranteed that he's punching above his weight in terms of hero roles.
Ooh, Veldora in trouble here, walks into a bush with 3 people. But Blacklist doesn't want to engage. They have no vision over the rest of EVOS. I agree with you, Gideon. We have to remember, EVOS still kind of came out on top in that previous Lord fight, despite their main DPS dying first before he could really even do anything. So if he had survived just a little bit longer, just imagine how easily EVOS could have ended the game right there. The opportunity is still open. MP already forced to dash back to base. Bottom inhibitor is gone. Perxiva being chunked out by the Lord, has to heal up with the Quicksand Guard. RWM comes in, traps multiple members, outplayed, has to walk back to base to heal. Minions still pushing in. Top inhib will fall right afterwards. AOG comes out, Fistcrack actually misses, so EVOS doesn't get the engage they want, but outplay being melted. Wind of Nature used already. Lord is gone, but a beautiful Fistcrack by Veldora catches 3. Nikki gonna finish off JM Pinkman. Veldora still able to dash away. Annabelle as well with the ultimate. Death Sonata just barely missing the Sky Piercer proc on Art. He's able to whack off. He's able to heal, but another minion wave comes in. Nikki still alive. Annabelle holding on to the immortality, but EVOS cannot break through.
What an incredible base defense coming up from a Blacklist International. They're playing a perfect push and pull, but at the same time, they're keeping in mind who deals the most damage to the crystal. In this case, it's going to be Nikki, and then there is Veldora, but Veldora is doing something else here. He doesn't want to walk up too far in these scenarios. So Outplayed is putting himself in a position where he's actually pulling the attention of both Annabelle and as well as Veldora, leaving Nikki and Clawkun in a position where they have to play on the opposite end. And this allows Blacklist International, people like Haji for an example, and even Perxiva to walk up a little more freely to not only focus on the waves, but to absorb damage from Nikki to space him out from the crystal. And they just keep on changing positions, right? If Nikki goes to the top side, they position to the top side. If Nikki goes bot side and Clawkun tries to split off to the opposite end, then you see Outplayed responding accordingly. Really great stuff from Blacklist.
And it's actually really difficult to do things like this. Normally, with a lineup that wants to split apart your opponent, you need map space. You just need actual physical space to be able to play around with your opponent's positioning. But because Blacklist doesn't have it, they only have their base. They're actually using their own bodies, their very presences themselves, to juggle around the aggro from their opponent and buy time for the rest of their teammates to clear minion waves while handling their opponents. It's very impressive, and we can see the experience of Blacklist International playing together as a team, but they still need to secure this Lord. They have no inhibitors left standing.
We need to see a super play from Blacklist International because the inevitable is about to happen here. They're getting poked out from every single angle. They cannot deal with Clawkun with the Wishing Lantern. They cannot deal with the Death Sonata coming in from Nikki. Well, now that he's already got that Malefic Roar, your armor basically doesn't really matter in the first place. And you can see that EVOS Esports, they don't have to do anything. They've got 3 naturally pushing waves on their side. They can just drag this out.
Yeah, they're just waiting until the minions give them lane priority here. Tawny actually gonna get poked out pretty hard, but that's all of Hodge's cooldowns already expended. Eternal Guard gone as well. And like you mentioned, Gideon, top and bottom minion waves are pushing really hard. EVOs are just waiting for Blacklist to go back and respawn. And this should be an excellent timing for them to actually start blitzing the Lord down. There's 3 members of Blacklist still here. Haji gonna join them, but they know that JM Pinkman is not around. Lord at 20%, Tawny making their way back. Death Sonata poking Perxiva out. Veldora gonna get bursted, but AOG lands on top of MP. He cannot get close. Annabelle secures the Lord, and now Tawny just buying space and time. Winter Crown comes out, revitalized, keeping him alive. Eternal Guard gonna miss entirely. Annabelle a bit too far forward, but RWM forces the flicker from JM Pinkman, and Haji barely surviving the Death Sonata once again. Somehow no casualties, but EVOS got their Lord.
Oh, wait, hold on. The casualty might just come through. No, Tawny! He's still alive! Jim Pinkman, he tried his best, and now he might just end up dying for it here. Perxiva's got to block some shots. Thank God he covers that ground. Good choices coming in from Blacklist International, but now the inevitable is here, and the Lord is going to end this game.
Blacklist, they've whittled it down to 70%, but the rest of EVOs have come back in. Perxiva gonna get caught in. Raging Sandstorm lands on 2, pops the immortality. Lord actually cleared up. Perxiva sacrifices himself for it, but the Fistcrack lands on JM Pinkman, and now the rest of EVOs are wailing on him. Killing spree for Clawkun. The crystal is exposed. MP trying to stop them, but there's just too many as EVOS Esports takes the final hit.